Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Method people, thank you for coming. Today we've got weird shit happening here. I wonder why the fuck that happened. Alright, what are we gonna do here? Come on now, motherfucker. This'll do, right? Here come the honky bonky honky tonk. Anybody was nearby, they think I'm fucking crazy or something, but they don't know I'm recording a guitar lesson. Hello, everybody. All right, we're back. Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Method or Journey, which is I think we're gonna change to. Um, here back here again for the as the page suggests, Genesis. Here comes the Supernatural Anaesthetist Part 2. So if you haven't seen Part 1 yet, then you want to check that out for a lot of introductory things. The run through the first half of the song, and now we have gone past the turnaround, and we're gonna roll through the second um, chorus, I guess, if you will, of the song, and get to the end. And so, of basically a two loop chord progression that has a really hip solo over it, and we're trying to find out what are the cool things that made it work. So, back to the where I was trying to get here with this Genesis Supernatural Anaesthetist title up there. So let's, I guess, just jump right into it here. Sorry for the jumping screen. Where we were a little backtracking, the turnaround runs from C to into this B strange chord, which is really just leading us to the E root to complete the actual E minor chord. But our C chord falls down to that B root of an E minor chord, and that arpeggio sounds on the keyboard. I like to play it on the guitar, and so we led into, and this is where we left off in the last lesson, so we can go over this quick. We get this introductory stab of an A7 chord to, and you can just see how great that line works. Why does it sound great? Because we started, and this is an example, when you hear like, hey, start your line from the third of the chord, and you think, well, what do I do? Well, you're kind of walking away on the beat. So started on the third, we went to a stepping stone, beautiful note also, which is one of the chords we went over in the song, we'll get to again. So it's a great step, the 4 there, we're going to the 5, great turnaround note, which we do, we head back right there to the 4, and we start walking right back down to what we have listed as the B, and I'll tell you that in a second. So we go, so a little up and down against the beat, kind of it's a little, I'm not exactly sure about the against the beat, but you'll know it if you know the song, how it kind of, the feel of it over this strange meter, which we went over last time. These chords are strummed in like some kind of 10 or 11/8 feel, and so it's a strange movement there. So when we end on that B, we have just taken the line into the next chord. It was, a natural progression of the line. It's the 2, a natural step down from the 3. However, we walk right into, we go through that chord portal once again, and we are right there. We can see in this chord, it's right when this chord hits, where are we? We're on that 1, 3, 5. B is the 3, 1 to 3. So, and we're right back into the real beginning of the song. So we've got another lick to go over this chord. We're going to play a little something that will lead us into the next chord. The next chord coming up, I'll give you a hint, is there, just a little change. The B7 over A is where we're going. So we want to do something, and this is a really cool little thing here, I think. He goes, real simple, but totally hip. Why is it totally hip? This is commonly something that's the way I would think about this is the same thing that I've heard is a suggestion of, hey, this is what Larry Carlton does, and that is playing arpeggios based off the other chord tones other than the root. So obviously, arpeggiating the root of a chord is arpeggiating a chord. It's going to sound good and match, no problem. Arpeggiating the B, of course, will match, but it gives kind of a different flavor because you're starting that little thing you're doing on the B, and the same with the 5 of the chord, the D. So keep that in your mind. When we look at this, here we go, D, D, B, and some of these I'll be using intervals, some of these I'll be using notes. Here, I thought it would be more sensible to use the notes. And here we go. Is the lick. We went D, D, B, F, D. So it's almost like in this part, we've suggested the B minor arpeggio. We've arpeggiated a B minor chord. Cool. And so we can see the logic behind that choice. And then but in the midst of that line, we went. We also had kind of also worked into it, so we've really also covered a D chord, or even the B7 completely with the A note in there. So, and that is where we're going. So, kind of a bunch of cool stuff to have done there, and that's why the star is there in that A note, because that is right where we end up with the next chord there. We hop right into the kind of important note. They always say, hey, in jazz, you want to, target the 3rd, target the 7. Those are your, and well, here we go. We targeted the 7. So we went, we went. So I'm showing you where to play this, where I played this as per my diagrams here. I did want to also mention that at no point am I telling you, like, hey, this is how it was played, this is how you should play it. This is for the illustration purposes of how these can fit in one spot of the fretboard in some commonly known scale shapes that you may recognize, so you can put pieces of your puzzle together, your musical ideas and some of your logic, so you can apply it to your own creations, is the point of this. Not at any time to say, hey, this is how you must play this, or this is how they played it. None of that here. Especially with this little lick here. As a matter of fact, good kind of intro to this little thing we got here. So we just got into, and we're going to do a little thing over it, and this thing is one of the quicker pieces. It's a quicker picker-upper. Oh, it's not a paper towel. Back to, okay, sorry. Yeah. So here's the deal. It's a little murky at this point. It'll be probably, I've got something worked out here that's good enough for my ears at the moment. Covers what I need to do. It's a little tricky, not really tricky to play. But maybe there's a better way to probably play it, since the fingering seems a little awkward. There's probably something better somewhere else on the fretboard for sure. However, this is what I do at the moment. And as I get the rest of the song, is I'm moving through this song as you guys are. It's one of the reasons I learned it. It's such a finger twister, and I want to, it's not a natural way I choose to move through scales, so I know there's, maybe there's some logic I can pick up, and just some ways that I can, my sensibilities on where to move, and how to move through some of these scale patterns in more creative ways can come about by, I think, learning from what the, forefathers of great music have already done as they've mastered their craft. So that is why I might be willing to, especially I can nail the rest of the piece down, as I found. I can work on this a little later if it needs a tweaking. But right now I go. So you gotta, when I hammer on here the B and the D, I gotta quickly do the same thing on the G string with the F sharp and the A, but I gotta kind of move down one fret. That's a little awkward. And I sometimes will go, depending on how frisky I feel, I guess. I don't know. How daring. But it sounds like it, if you listen to the recording, that there's a little trill on the D to the E there on the way down. I don't know. You listen for yourself. See what you like. But ultimately, what we're doing is getting to that A note. We're winding our way. That's why I put that yellow square there, by the way. It's like a little optional thing for you to, your choice. So we get down to that A note, which wraps up our hangout here for this B7 over A, B7 triad over an A root. Since it's B, it's all from Beirut. Nah. Okay. So we're going to here and the A6 chord. And this is where we were here on the A, so we just walk up to this actually, my bad here. Don't know where I am, but we start on this A an octave away. So this one that you see where my plus sign cursor is right there. We're going to go A, E, C sharp, B. I had to think about something there. So we're walking up to that E. Now, at the moment, there's no E in this chord, but where are we going? We're going to that regular A, and that is exactly the change that occurs from that A6 to that A. At that moment is the E note, so it's a pretty, going to be a pretty solid note to target at that moment. So why don't we head up there with a little bit of moving strangely through this rather mundane pentatonic based shape. So we go A, E, C, B, and you can just, play this and all. This is simple enough that where this can work in a ton of different places in the fretboard, or at least a couple, not to overcomplicate anything. So we got to that E, right? And that's when that regular A chord goes, and the lick goes. It doesn't stop, but it does turn around at this point, which has some thought into it. And we do that. What do we do there? We go E. I went backwards here for some reason on the charts. Alright, so we go E. I should have used the intervals because this would be the 5 of the chord, the 4 of the chord as a step to the root of the chord. So a nice arpeggiation with the step. Pretty thoughtful, nice, and gives this song that simple but hip sensibility to, the solo over this music. So at the end we end with that EA, so 5 into the 1 of the chord. Boom. Totally solid, sensible information there. We can see what was going on with this visualization here. So moving on, we've still got this A going on, but this is another cool part I've been waiting to talk about. So cool here. So, what we did here is the same as in the first lesson. We showed that when we got to the A, we're basically arpeggiating the A with a especially yeah, I got lost in a thought there, and now it's here on the lesson. We just are basically, I wanted to see if I had the intervals on this A chord, but anyways, it's like root, 2, there's the major third, 5, 6, so we got the 2 and the 6 in there, as well as the chord tones, the root, and the third, and a 2 and a 3, so a 6-2 along with the no 4. All right, so now we're at the like the second part of the A before it walks up into this borrowed chord. So what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna do something cool here. We are gonna arpeggiate this A in a way that we haven't arpeggiated yet. We didn't do this on the first round. We sort of left its ambiguity there, and we can check the other lesson for that. Here, we're going to arpeggiate it and nail it this time with that 7 in there, really suggesting that we are catering to an A major 7 chord, and in the melody is the regular 4, indicating to us that this is going to clearly be like the A of A major, which is cool because we've sort of been throughout this thing dealing with the key ideas in the key of D, catering to the chords as they would line up through the key of D, from the lens of the key of D, we could even say. And so here is a clear suggestion of A major, which gives it that kind of cool, there's a little classical touch there, and you don't know how that sounded, and you don't know where this note came from, why this weird different note is suddenly in the pattern there when you learn this just by rote, meaning that you just, pair it along, you learn how all the fingerings work and figure it out that way. I think this way gives a lot more insight if you want to do things yourself, like make your own music at some point. So, or just you like to know the way things tick. I'm a car person too. I've talked about my car channel on this before, so we won't tangent here, sorry, but I do like to tinker with things. I always have, take things apart, that kind of stuff. And you probably do that too, that's why you're here. Alright, so here's what we're doing. Yeah, on the notes here it says it's an A major 7 that we're kind of from the 1 to the 3 that we're arpeggiating, and including that 4 in there. Now, yeah, we go to this note here, but that's not necessarily in our chord. That's our 5, that's our 6. And that's where we're ending, but are we ending on the 6 of A major 7? No, we're actually ending on the 5 of the B7 that we're headed to here. So that's going to be, let me move some sheets over here. All right. Wow, I got too many sheets. Holy sheet. Okay, so we got to get back. So we go 7, or sorry, 1, 7, the major 7. The only, it's like, here's our chord right here on this. Here's our 7, major 7 version of that same chord. That's our doubled up root in our first chord to the 7, major 7. Always a pretty chord. All right, so we're catering to that. And then, so put 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3. And that's when we're walking back down. So the last part is a walk back down into that what would be the 2 of this chord. However, the star is there because it's the star of the show. As we walk into the 1, there's our root and our 5. Right there is what we just walked into. Our idea, our master, where this came from, has shifted quite considerably here. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's why this may have juggled your eyes a bit, but keep your eye trained on that R. You can see how it was the 2 with the star there. And so, well, this R here, by the way. I see that I have 2 in there, and there's a reason for that. Anyways, so we went... because that's where I go at that time. You can, like I said, play this a different way. You go... and just consider yourself not using this root where the plus sign is, and just use this root the whole time. Totally whatever works for you. This is kind of what my mind goes to at the moment. Since I'm in that walking down, I walk down there. But now my mind changes, because if you notice, what is now the 3rd of this chord, this note is now changed where we were, where the plus sign is right now. If I change, I can't change that way. It'd be cool if I had a way to toggle the change. But watch where what was I even? Oh, where this between the 2 and the 3. So you take a look at that square. You can see that's where the note we were just playing was. That note is no longer going to sound hip over this. And you can hear, so we were... you can hear that. How that 1-5 works, caters so well to that change. So now we haven't taken advantage of the 7 in the chord yet. So let's walk up there. And then I'm gonna switch to my root thinking is gonna switch to now this root here, hence why I also included that root. I'm gonna go, so this is the actual lick. We go after the walk in, we go. So that was 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the next idea comes up. So we're switching right back here into the key of D, which is a very common trick, a chord progression, kind of borrowed chord situation that's very common and sounds great for a myriad of its own reasons. Plays fast forward just as long as he can, but he won't need a bed. He's a digital man. Plays, so you get the idea there. All right, so probably used in quite a few songs as a great little chordal device there, and an example of how to rip off other artists. No, I'm just kidding. I'm fucking kidding. Sorry, and I always swore in my lesson. I probably just ruined it. I'll have to beep that out. My keyboard, it's not even working. All right, sorry. Yeah, so we totally ruined our lesson. So I gotta grab this note here with my one kind of key thing I do to remember this part is, remember, I'm grabbing that 3 where the box is and my cursor is now. I'm grabbing that 3 with my ring finger there, so I can go, because if I don't, it's hard to, if I use my middle finger that I had used for my... I'll tend to use my, and I probably shouldn't, but it's probably a bad habit of mine. But for me, I've got a bad habit, and if you have this bad habit of starting with your middle finger and giving this progression the bird, then you'll have to make a mental note to start that next part with your middle, because if you use your middle, then you kind of lost there's some string juggling finger funkiness that you run into, but maybe just do this in your own, make up your own find a place that you're comfortable with doing this little lick on the guitar, and you can probably get your own way to get around all that. So anyways, only if you're playing it like this, you'll have to worry about that. But you wanna, that does, I like to pick that one 3 times. Just listen to the song for yourself. There's, I think, a little double up on that note there. If it's twice or 3 times. Is it 2 one time and then 3 the other time? Not totally sure. Is it just some other thing in the beat that's causing it to sound like that? Haven't listened close enough, but you can listen to it and you'll know what you want to do there. But that is the basis of this 3. And now, if you remember from the first lesson too, where I mentioned, kind of a thing with this D, the 1, totally the 1 chord of our thing here. A favorite thing, like when we did that earlier over the D chord, ending on the 6 there, and this lick also 1 flat 7 5 6 3 3 3 1 7 5 6. Interesting way to end that, because right at this moment we get into our A suspended 7 chord, which really does a cool thing in my book as a partner with the D chord, especially as this melody line is just simply being repeated. The melody line, it's like there's an emotional stretch going on in the way I kind of see that. There's just more pull, more of an emotional pull. The same melody line has more of an emotional pull over this 7 chord, which is like a real spaced out, literally and figuratively spaced out D chord, because we've got that D chord in there, but we've lowered these 2, adding that airy space, and added this, and added that. To what was that? Definitely a lot of cohesion between those 2 chords, especially since they're both carrying that D in some form. So that's where this really comes in cool, to just not even do anything different to cater to that chord. Do the same damn thing. And right there with that 1 2, we get into pretty simple 6 7 1 7 6 7 5. So definitely, the 6 was used as a step. We are, basically targeting 1 7 and 5 there over 1 flat 7 and 5 there, once again, to kind of nail down this D. Now, some of these, when I make these, you'll notice I'm correcting something here. When I make these slides, I try to be, as quick as I can. This stuff takes a long time, and I copy the last slide to keep this guitar fretboard, which takes a long time to make, and then I just redo the information inside the box, deleting and all that stuff. And sometimes I forget to adjust what I carried over from the last box, so there may have even been a chord symbol down below that, like, yeah, back here you were like, why does that say A? Because that's what happens there when I kind of rush this stuff to market and haven't fully checked on my work. But there's the last point, that we are at this D chord, because now we're falling back to that C. So we got to get to that C. What's the quickest way to get to C from where we were going, where we were just heading down to the 5? So we're in a downward motion. How can we move downward into that C chord, which, by the way, this C chord is related to an E minor chord that we're kind of eventually working towards, which would be the, well, never mind. We don't have to go over that, but since we're doing that, and if you're just like, well, how can we go? We're in the key of D, so why are we going to an E minor chord? How does that even make sense? Somebody could be saying, and that's just because it will make sense if that is your intention. You can really go wherever you want in music, express whatever you want. There are no there's the rules of music theory aren't a dictatorship. It's not like this is what has to happen or it sounds like crap. No, this song could sound like crap if that wasn't the intended, if these weren't the intended emotions, but this is what you got. This is the idea that was expressed, and everything made to fit with everything else, of course. But so that's why we can go to, and there's an explanation. That's the 2 of the D scale. That's the second chord, so it's associated with a Dorian sound, but it's not anything that we have to think about to understand this lesson. For the beginners, that just, it's like, some of the heady people want to be like, yeah, that's cool, that's the way I thought too, and then some of the beginners are like, okay, this just went way over my head. What the hell is everybody talking about here? What is all this mumbo jumbo, right? So, kind of cater into both audiences if I can at this moment. And dragging this out a little bit more. So there we cater to the D. So we're getting to that C, and we're going to pop right in here by moving down where this says 5. I should have put the star there because that is where we are back. We're not in A major anymore. How long have I had that on there? Yeah, that was wrong. That was wrong. There we went back to A major, but I still had it there too. And you can sort of think, yeah, after that B, you can kind of think like, yeah, we kind of clicked back. You see, it's only a 1-note change to get back to the key of D. So we kind of notched down into the key of A major here, and then I guess you could consider this still an A major idea. And then now we are back into the key of, this would be D major. So why don't we correct that here just to keep everybody following along and the keyboard warriors at bay. So yeah, we're still looking for that in the future threads or sheets here. Okay, so we ended up down here on this 5 is where we were on that 6, and so we walk into this C, which will kind of, listen for yourself. It may actually move into a C sus just before it slides down into this B thing that we talked about at the very beginning of the lesson, which is actually a D or an E minor idea. Target. Tonal target, I guess. So that's how we do over this C, and it kind of works if it does try to morph to suspended. There's the 2, that's why when we end there it sounds cool, and it leads into the next chord. It's the chord that we need to, tone that we need to bridge this melody line over the chords. So we started we walked in on that 5, 3, 2, 6, 5. So we definitely got some steps and some chord tones in there, and we walk out on that 2, which walks into this thing here, or even what I indicated. I like this a little better. Here's my, like this D minor shape, but up here playing it as E minor, of course, since it's our E minor idea, and then using our index to get the B, and we can, sometimes I'll throw the 4 in there too. But I'm usually not playing that rhythm part. If you're the rhythm guitarist, maybe you're interested in that. But for the most part, we're just playing the solo over that part and want to know where it came from. Flat 7, we're going to go. Because that's all you do after that. This is the part over the C chord. Then we're right here in the E minor. And yes, we are going to get that corrected. Sorry for all the OCD people that just bugged the hell out of. Would have bugged the hell out of me. So we end, and we are pretty much done with the song now. We've gone through the final turnaround, which gets us to the ending chords. The ending chord progression takes the song to a completely new place, but it's still related to this E minor chord here. It is basically the next one up. So if that was like the 2, that's basically the 3 in the key there. But I like to think of it as now becoming basically just a shift to a 6 chord. There's a couple other ways to think about this that well, I don't want to over theorize it anyways, but there is a whole bunch of reasons that F chord is just a new tonal area that's totally doable. It doesn't sound too jarring, or it does sound a little jarring actually, but not out of the question. It sounds like a cool place to go to, and we're going to cater to that by doing this. So we just got just to go through the whole ending progression. So we'll have an F minor that'll go up to a G minor, a half step up. So it sounds like we're going to need some exotic scale to do this, but all we're really going to do is just cater our ideas to F sharp minor Aeolian to G minor Aeolian. Then it goes back down to the F for a few seconds. Then it hits an A minor, which will eventually morph into some kind of A major sound, like an A almost like an A suspended, or I think like a that sound, a sus2, I guess, chord. So it'll go from a So that's what we're going to be working over here. So how do we handle all this? Because there's a little bit of that is somewhat of the solo at the end there, barring a couple of mistakes. And I was hoping that you could kind of hear those chord changes in there. That's what this stuff does. If it's done right, you should be, as they will usually say, be able to follow the changes if you just hear the melody line. And so you can see here what we've just kind of, where we were. Look at this yellow note right here. Follow the yellow brick note. We were up here. I guess that's why the star is there. That's not one of our fretboard markers. That is where we're going. And this shape, where you were, is going to become this kind of idea here. All you really need, since we're in F minor, we're going to play a minor idea. You can start with the fact that you can just shift. I shift my thinking when I do that. Slide down to this note over that, which is the what the root. So we're nice and clearly established that we just and we made our easiest melody line move into the F sharp minor chord by sliding down that one note. So we're firmly here in this pentatonic kind of ideas where you can orient yourself very quickly visually when you're playing this intricate little piece here. So this is kind of what goes on. The backing track, I think, seems to move a little faster here than the actual track. So your mileage may vary on what I show you here. It's once again also a very quick part that's a little bit down in the mix of the versions that I hear. And so that being said, and on the equipment that I play it. That being said, that maybe you can pick up on something a little different here, but what I get here is basically coming out of this, the pentatonic shape, get the gut notes in here playing this. So you say that's D, Phrygian shape. Well, that's if we're considering that as the root, but we're not considering that as the root. Our root is here. So what note is that? The 6. So anyways, over the F sharp, this is the Aeolian mode, if you want to think about it like that, or the scale that this is the choices I use. And it's really quick, and the difference would be really one note here. I think it's this note right here. So pick whatever you want, but I go first of all, and I should have marked this down, where the plus sign is. That's where I'm starting this B flat. Oh, I'm sorry. That would be an A. I mean F. Yeah, we have an A in there. Dumbass. That's your third. Okay, so. Sorry, I go. Is really kind of the first thing I hear. So we've gone down. Something like that. And we end up kind of down here. And I might walk up like this. But I'm targeting that G up here eventually. So anyways, I show here in all the yellow squares how what I went down to that note there. It's kind of, it's just a, it might even just slide right through there. There's just such a flurry of notes mixed into the mix right there. So do your thing there, but that green note is where we are targeting, because that is right when the beat, the G minor comes in on that beat. So then we're just out of this pattern. We're only taking a couple of simple notes here. Also, you'll notice there's 2 roots in there. It's just the way my fingers work while I'm thinking about this stuff through these shapes. This is definitely doable in a ton of different ways. You could make this happen. You could find this 2 root flat 7 thing in a couple different places, so you can do whatever you want here. But for what I hear and what I'm playing is something like that. It's like I know it's when I go here, I go. Then it's down. Something like that. Something like that. So. Sorry. That sounded too normal. So here we are. Right there. So I've gone a little past our diagram here, but so through those notes, a 5, a root, a 2, a flat 7, you'll get your way through that part, and then we're going to take that root of this chord, which, you know, nails us firmly that our little intended fool around here that we did over that chord was legitimately catering to that chord by starting on the root, ending on the root, with a couple of cool, the flat 7, the 5, with a step in there, the 2. You know, you can even say the flat 7 there was relatively a hip choice for a step, and the 5 and the root were definitely our chord tone landing points. And also questionable whether it actually is moving down from the root, but I just hear that and play it to get to this idea. It's one step in, sounds right to me, and we are stepping in, of course, to the roots. You know, we're walking down the roots there that are a half step apart, pretty easy there, and so we're there. Quickly falls down to the flat 7 of this chord, and we hammer on 5, 4, 5. And then we're going to go do that again, but we're going to target that note with the star in it. And why does that make sense? Because, let's see if I even got that correct here. Well, I probably could have put the shape out there. Well, all I do is, it's the end of the song, and I'm not even really worried about a shape anymore at this point. But when we chose that note there, we now are suggesting clearly, along with the chord change, that we are catering to this A minor by strongly suggesting it's flat third and hammering onto it using a step of the 2. So it kind of sounded cool for the other chord. Now, I've got some gray notes in there too, because once again, your mileage may vary. Sometimes, not always, I'm kind of inclined to go when the first time around, we go when we're on the F sharp. Then we come around to this one again, and we go 6, 5, with the flat 3. But I might, when I get to this, before I play that, I might walk down to this first gray note here, down from the 5, the 4. So I might go, because I sort of kind of hear a step in there, and it sounds, it's so fast, and I have given it such a, not a very detailed listen enough. I haven't really stopped and rewound it like 80 times to be like, okay, no, I know this is exactly what he plays there, or slowed it down or anything like that. I've just given it the most casual listen, but sometimes I kind of pick up that there's just a little bit of a something in there. And then sometimes I'll even try to get a little bit more mileage out of my kind of noodle hammer-on thing here to get to this final part. And you might say, well, okay, well, here you're just noodling here. How come you're not teaching us the solo? Well, if you're going to improvise over any of the song, it's not going to really work out if you want to say, hey, we're playing the Supernatural Anaesthetist. This is some rock and Genesis here. Here you go. It's not really a song you're going to improvise over per se, but maybe in the very last chord here before we clearly step into an A suspended type of tonality here. So in that regard, I might go, I might play that. Now, once again, your mileage may vary here. Is there a 5, a 6, and a 7? Flat 7 at this, final moment of A major before it goes to the to end, which is an approximation, even that what the chord is suggesting at that moment. But you can clearly hear these are the dominant notes, not suggesting anything just other than the root and the 5. A, and it's or D, I'm sorry, and it's 5A or A and the 4, since we're kind of ending on A at the moment. So that's pretty much it. So just to kind of run through that last part, so we went right there, as soon as you highlight that D note there, that's where it's shifting to or. And everything turns into these other keyboard kind of mellotron, or I don't think, whatever that it was, a Moog, some weird synthesizers making some volume swells of pretty much, I think, the harmonic series of the final kind of A D tonality there. But hey, I could be wrong on that, and I usually am. So anyways, this was Mind's Eye for this week, but no worries here. What's coming up next? I've got just a ton of lessons whirling through my head, so none of this has stopped. We've got so much to talk about a couple of different subjects here. See, one I went over, I think, in the early part of the lesson, but it might have been in the lesson that I just, did 3/4 of and deleted because I ruined the lesson. But anyways, I got more stuff coming up. Good stuff. About a lot of different topics. So stay tuned. But hey, if you got a topic that you'd like to see discussed on this channel, maybe I can tackle it, and maybe I can't. And if I can, we can make some kind of lesson about it. So thank you very much. And or just questions that you had about this lesson, how it all works, whatever. We can go over that. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Check out the merchandise store below. Please do, because I'm just not really getting a lot of traffic. I think the t-shirt designs, there's some cool ones on there that you might be interested in. Of course, from the many designs that my Mind's Eye Visual Studio makes here, some are directly catering to this. The imagery is geared toward this channel with a mind and an eye and a guitar, and they look kind of cool. So check them out. And if you just like to pitch in directly to the costs of this channel, which are some subscription fees for Studio One, and of course the Office program, Microsoft stuff that I use for this, feel free to drop a tip in that tip jar that is normally empty, right? So just, but hey, all you need to really do, if you could, is like and subscribe. That would be so totally appreciated by me. It always is, as is any of the other steps you take towards merchandise or anything like that. Thank you for watching again. We'll catch you next week, everybody. You're the best. Keep jamming. And yeah.